Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. This week we're going to start off with a serious video. I haven't done any tutorials in the past month. And I figure it'd be fitting to start off this tutorial doing introducing you to a new program. I'm going to be showing you how to do things in DaVinci Resolve 15. Now, for those of you who are not aware of what DaVinci Resolve is a very powerful video editing program that is created by Blackmagic Design, and is available for download online and for install on your computer for free. And after you finish creating your videos from DaVinci Resolve, it doesn't contain any watermarks. It's always good. And but they also have a paid version for $299 that contain additional features. But I found that most of the tasks that I need to have done, the free version is pretty sufficient. So you don't really need to, but if you want, you could purchase the full version. But like I said, I've been using DaVinci Resolve for the past 11 months, and I have to say it's a fantastic program to use. I have to admit, when I first started, the program does have somewhat of a learning curve, so I'm hoping that by creating this quick start guide, it will get you to get started quicker and to using DaVinci Resolve. So yeah, let's head on to the computer and let's get started. Okay, when you first start off DaVinci Resolve, you will come up to the Project Manager screen. Now in this screen is where you create your projects, either modify your projects, export, import your projects, organize your projects with folders. Let's just say you create a new folder and you call this folder work. And then you can put all your projects into that folder to keep it organized. Also, you can also organize by creating separate databases. So for instance, maybe you want to create two separate databases, one for work, one for business, or etc. As well as you connect to remote databases if you are working on projects in a group setting. So you have other people who could connect to the server and work on the project, as well as you could connect to that server and work on a project as well. So first thing first, into creating a project, I usually would go to project settings and change my project settings. I mean, you could do this within the project while you in the project, but I usually do this beforehand just to keep everything neat. I usually select full HD resolution. If you were working on 4K video, make sure to select 4K resolution. Frame rate, depending on the type of videos I have in my projects. If most of my videos are using hyperlapse, then I would change the frame rate to match that. Or if it's mostly slow-mo, then I would change the frame rate as well. Also, a lot of gaming videos may record in high frame rate, so you may want to change your timeline setting to match that. 2997 is pretty good for me. Video monitoring, I usually set that to be the same as my timeline settings as well. So keep it all neat. Hit save, and then you go into your Untitled project. Here, you could save your project by hitting Control S and then naming it. We're gonna name this test. Save. Or you could just go to File and Save Project. Make sure to save your project often, because you don't want to lose any work if the program crashes. So, now we're going to introduce you to the sections. We have 5 sections or 6 sections in DaVinci Resolve. The media section is where you import your medias, your resources. Edits is where you do all your edits. Fusion is a new tab in Fusion in DaVinci Resolve 15. It's particularly used for creating virtual effects and composites. Colors is where you go in to edit the colors of your videos. Either you want to change the color grain to a red grain or to a darker blue or whatever. Or you want to brighten some areas and lighten some areas. You could do that in colors. Also, you could apply green screen effects in colors, as well as you could also do green screen effects in Fusion as well. Fairlight is where you go to treat your audio, either if you want to filter out some noise, or you want to change the decibels or the range, the dynamic range of your audios. You could do so in Fairlight. You could also do voiceovers in Fairlight. And of course, the delivery tab is where, after you've done all your work, it's time to export your project and complete your final product. Now, Fusion, Colors, and Fairlight I'm not going to be touching on today. I'm going to be doing tutorials on that separately in the future. Today, it's mostly we're going to be concentrating on bringing files into your projects, editing, and then delivering them out. So let's go to the Media tab. Here, we will go to for your file system. Download a few clips. You could also preview your clips here. You could do so. You could also, put a start point and an end point. So if you don't want to bring in the whole clip, you could just, select like this. Drag it into your timeline and such. We're gonna drag the whole clip into our timeline, or into our project. Now, when you drag it into your project, it will ask you, do you want to change your project's settings? Because the clip either has a different resolution or a different frame rate. But we don't want to do that, because we want our final product to have, the settings that we set it earlier when we start the project. So don't change it. So we drag in 2 clips and maybe some oil. Now, you can also, if you're working on a very small project and you have just a couple of clips and you don't want to go through all the hassle of just dragging it into the Media tab, you could also just go to your file system. So let's just say you go to the down folder, and you could just, select it and drag it onto your edit tab. So let's just say, so you drag it into the project. Now, this viewer you could use to view your, your clips. You set an endpoint and a start point, drag it onto the timeline. And this viewer is where we will show your timeline, or your final video edit. You will show here the whole project. Now, you could actually drag a whole clip into your project. You don't have to, edit it from here to a point where you want. You can also, expand and zoom into your, overall timeline. So if you want to see the overall timeline, you just zoom out. If you want to get to a specific clip, you can zoom in, like so. Now on the timeline, there's a scrubber. You could, scrub through it by just holding and moving your mouse back and forth, like so. Also, you could also have it loop, so you could click this to loop it. Also, you could also see here these little anchors. You could also kind of pull this inward to kind of fade it in, and over here you could also pull this back so it kind of fades out and fades in in between clips. So you go like this, fades out, fades in. That's a little neat trick there. Also, let's just say you cut a little too early and you want just a few seconds later. You could actually, pull this back a few seconds to where you want it to start. So if you cut it a little too early, you could actually change the clip to go back. So also you could click on the razor tool and break it up. This clip, let's just say you want to clip it a few times and you want to move pieces around. So let's just say click this to go back to the pointer and click this and move this all the way to the back if you want. Let's say you want this in the back, this in the front, you could do that. Now, for some reason, if you by mistake you overwrite an area and you don't want to do that, you can always hit Control Z to undo it, or go to Edit and Undo. There's a few, you could actually undo a few steps back. If you want to go back a few steps, if you make a few first steps and you mistake, then you want to go back a few steps, you could do that. Now we're going to look at the toolbar. Here at the toolbar we have video transitions. Now if you let's zoom into the timeline a bit. Let's just say you want to apply a transition. You just click on, hold it and drag it to the location where you want it, right here. You can also change the property of this transition by highlighting it, click on it, and you can change the duration just like this by dragging it in and out. Also, if you click on the Inspector tab, in the Inspector, here's where it lists all the properties for that effect. So if you want to change the property of this particular video transition, you just go here and change it. And as you see now, the blur effect is a little more blurred and streaming like. Now in the inspector, you could also inspect clips. So in clips, if you select a clip, here is where you have a whole bunch of things you could do to a clip. You could transform it. You could have the clip to start. Let's bring the pointer to that particular point. You could zoom in and out of a particular video. You can move the position to left or right. Left or up and down. You change the opacity to go out and then type deal. Oh, of course you can reset everything by just hitting this circle to reset the clip. Also, this you go here, you could actually add titles. Let's just close the inspector for now. Add titles to your videos. Now, see the timeline over here is kind of crowded. You could actually shrink down the videos and the audio a bit to make it a little neater. And then, let's just say we want to go to the beginning of the video. Now over here we could click these to move between clips, or we could just hit this to rewind to the point we want, and so Now click on titles. Here is where you could add text. You could add lower thirds and titles, text, and scroll text and things like that. Here's a bunch of Fusion titles, which create in Fusion. You can use these. These are new for DaVinci Resolve 15. We could just add a simple text box here. Just click on it. Go away. Yeah, you see on timeline there's the title that we put in. Let's go back into the inspector. Here's where you change the properties for it. Let's call it car trip. And you can change the font. You know, let's change it to a Star Wars font maybe. You can change the color, the boldness of it. You know, a whole bunch of other size, etc. You know. Such. Of course, you know, a whole bunch of other goodies. You could change the position, zoom. I'll go in more detail in a later video, but of course you could always do a fade in by just moving these tabs around, like so. When you start from the beginning of the clip, it would look like that. You can also use your spacebar to stop and play your video. So you can also use the left and right key to move one frame. So let's just say you want to just move one frame. You could do that to do a more specific cut, or go back a few frames by just pressing the left and right arrow keys. So now we're gonna add some oil into our timeline. So you just select an oil clip, bring it down here. Here you could edit the oil for your clip by just selecting the middle line, click and hold, move it up to increase the volume, move it down to lower the volume a bit. Also, let's zoom out a bit. Of course, we could do all the same things we could do with all these other by just cutting and, you know, moving clips around. Click this arrow key to get back to selection mode, delete clips. Now if you cut too much, you can move it out a bit or move it back in, such. Of course, you know, there's some oil transition you could apply. You could have it crossfade if you have two oil clips together, you know, and you want to crossfade it, just click and drag it like so. Alright, after you've done all your edits and you're ready to export the project, go to the delivery tab. Here, of course, you know, you could see the overall project by increasing the zoom and going inward. Now these are breaking into clips, so let's just say you want to just start from the second clip and render on, or the third clip and render on, you could choose so. Or if you just want to select just the first clip and up to the third, you know, you move this around on your timeline and such. I'll just move these start points. Now here we got some presets. Here's some presets for YouTube for 1080, 4K and such. You go down, you can set up 4K. And it also has other presets for, let's just say you want to export this to be used in Final Cut Pro or Premiere and such, you could do so. And also, you know, if you just want just the oil, you could do that as well. We're going to do it for YouTube 1080 Full HD. Here is where we name the file, so we would say test. Here we will select the folder where we want to put it, so let's just say we put in this folder. As well, you could change the format. You know, you could select AVI or MP3 or MP4. I mean, now most videos are MP4, so I select that. Network optimization is used when you upload, if you plan to upload your video to a website. This will help to optimize it for a faster upload, so you just select that. As well as the quality, if you really have bad bandwidth, you could lower the quality a bit. That would make a small file for faster upload, but it kind of defeat the purpose. So I usually just keep it high. My bandwidth is pretty good, so it's not much of an issue. So you just hit add to queue, and then you can start rendering, and it would start creating your final project. And then you could utilize that project and put it up to YouTube or and such. I hope you found this, quick, start guide helpful in you using DaVinci Resolve 15. I hope it will encourage you to use DaVinci Resolve for your audio and video projects. So if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions on functions in DaVinci Resolve, or if you want to see some sort of future video, please comment below, and I will get back with you, or let you know when another video of that matter will come up down the line. So be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with some new videos, as well as hit the notification bell to get notified of new videos. As always, everybody, have a nice day, and I see you on the next video. Take care, everybody.